With Naruto's plan finalized, his real body took residence near the core of the planet and continued training in both worlds, real and soul land. While his real body trained, Naruto's clones kept appearing to continue doing their job. He controlled random individuals every day to do the interviews. He trained with his team every day and he continued to liberate different cities each day. However, none of his enemies were able to locate him. Naruto appeared from beneath the earth without a single trace and only left behind his work. He ignored targets that were protected by his enemies. Unlike Clarion and the Suicide Squad, Naruto could easily sense them and avoided them as he didn't want to risk giving them any information. He wanted to appear at his full power and take them out like a sudden lightning strike. Other than that, the story about the Sage of Six Paths started along with the story about the Emperor of Mankind. The story was being published weekly with great art and both captured the interest easily as people were hungry for more information. In his story, Naruto showed them what he did and his deeds. It was a slap to his enemies, showing that he didn't think anything of them. He even showed in his stories how he would dominate them in battle. To the citizens it was an exciting piece of storytelling and it even played the part of news since it was happening. Though, many of the things were still fiction as Naruto had yet to fight most of the people. However, the people didn't know that and none of the other parties were willing to come out and reject it. That wasn't all. Naruto also started animated projects and live-action series to cover all the demographics. He used other stories beside his own from the history of the ninja world with some modification. Other than that, Naruto revived the planet. He erased all the barren lands and covered every piece of open land with useful greenery, beautifying the lands. In places where there was a need for food, Naruto covered the land with vegetables and fruits. He cleaned the oceans and the lands from waste, having the world absorb them or erasing them completely. He gave new life to all the existing plants and animals by cleaning away all the diseases and chemicals within. He didn't stop at the animals and Naruto covered humanity as well. He covered everyone on the planet. He released energy signals from different parts of the world, to cover all of it. The energy cleaned up the body and strengthened it. It solved the mental diseases and gave people the power to fight against other diseases, since Naruto was still not capable of doing such a thing from afar. He needed to get close and target the source of the life-threatening diseases to cure them. Other than that, Naruto teleported army personnel back to their home countries. The army of another country had no right to stay in another country, as it would most likely be used to control it or cause chaos. Most of the army personnel were from USA because they were the de facto evil empire of the modern world and they needed hundreds of military bases outside of their country to control their territories. That was the true purpose of their existence and not the nonsense they propagated. Police the world and save it from evil. The USA had no right to do such things and none should ever believe such nonsense from them because the country was responsible for the destruction around the world and the collapse of several countries. It never got tired from trying to have other countries fall or become enslaved to their whims. It wasn't the fault of the lower-end soldiers, but the people at the top. Sadly, soldiers always died for pointless reasons and personal profit. The world Naruto was creating had no place for internal wars, so he brought the people back home safely and put them outside cities so that they weren't killed by the police or someone because of their sudden appearance. Naruto didn't just work all the time as his clone spent time with his team and separately with different individuals. After training, Naruto would have team outings and they would engage in different activities. They would go watch movies together. They would go eat from different restaurants. They would go out for shopping. They would go to amusement parks and water parks. They would engage in extreme sports. Many of these things were also new to Naruto and he enjoyed spending the time. He also showed the team extreme sports from his world. Skydiving into a forest or a water body without any safety equipment. They would have to stop their body at the last moment in some manner. The one who stopped the closest to the ground won. There was the jungle tag, where they jumped across trees and used their abilities while playing the game. There was also the fish adventures, where the ninja transformed into fish and explored the water body and fought against a bigger fish. There was the beast war where the players transformed into their favorite animal and fought against each other. There were other games about weapon specialties and elemental abilities. These activities helped the team to get to know each other and showed that Naruto was really willing to befriend them, not treat them like maggots. He also entertained the girls and went on individual dates with them. Naruto had experience with such activities and made the girls really happy as they saw another side of him. He cooked for them and they cooked for him. He designed things for them. He shared stories with them and made them laugh. He took them on walks and he took them to dance. He sang with them and he played with them, conquering everything. Naruto didn't forget to spend time with Konan and Laura. He gave them his time and closed the distance between them. He was a person with strong charisma, so it was hard to ignore him and leave him. He could read people like an open book and could easily penetrate their hearts, befriend them. Konan lightened up over the course of things and kept on reminding him that she won't give the eyes until she saw how he handled resistance. Naruto had no issue with that and kept repeating that every day. While Laura had been visited by his Earth clones, they formed from the ground near the girl. She had been transferred to Young Justice and Naruto visited her secretly as promised. Without a doubt, Naruto became her strongest bond in the current world and made her happy with his presence. And, it wasn't just these people as Naruto's clones that had taken different identities also formed new bonds. His team had become known as the Ultimates and they went around fighting petite crime. During that time, the clones got closer to Birds of Prey, the Justice League, Titans and many other heroes. Even Supergirl got to know him and had talks with Gilgamesh. It seemed she was curious about him and might have felt the similarity between him and the Emperor. The only difference was the fact that the Emperor persona was dominating and treated others as subordinates. In just a week, the world saw a massive change across the globe and finally the average citizen had hope for the future. A hero had come that would save them from the darkness and despair. A hero that didn't just fight the villains but also fought against the societal issues. It was a hero that literally changed the world unlike those before him, who could show nothing literal for their achievements, and it was all done within a week. By the end of a month since Naruto's appearance, the world was completely focused on him and singing his praises. The result of his actions was clear-cut and every city that he had liberated showed a little taste of what was to come. Everyone wanted Naruto to come to their regions except the criminals. Many small-time criminals had started to leave the field and look for other jobs before Naruto came to their area. It was evident that Naruto's powers were real and he was going to liberate mankind, and none had the ability to stop him. He was invincible. He was the will of humanity. He was the emperor of mankind. With his interference, even the darkest places like Gotham had been transformed into a wonderful metropolis that was extremely safe and clean. There was no darkness or despair or uncleanliness in the region. The citizens seemed to have collectively snapped out of their nightmares and woken up to a beautiful reality. The affect was massive as smiles could be seen on the people and people were being chatty towards strangers, when talking to strangers in the streets of Gotham was considered highly risky. The world seemed to have become a beautiful place within a month. Naruto's effectiveness was apparent for everyone, which caused different reactions in the various forces. The villains were terrified of what would happen to them as they saw many of their people change and saw some of them die. And, they were frustrated and angry at being unable to capture him. Not everyone lived with a second chance and many people had died. Not everyone was smart enough to understand and adapt to the coming of the new era. And Naruto also didn't forgive people that committed murder and other crimes after his authority had been established in a region. The criminals feared him while the heroes saw what they could have done, if they had been active. All the things that Naruto did, they could have accomplished as a team. However, they also disliked him because of his murder and torture. They had come across the changed criminals and saw the fear in their minds. They saw what Naruto had done to them and it was abhorrent. It was inhumane and sent chills down their spines. None of them had expected that Naruto could be so cruel when he was so kind to them, and they finally realized his values. Good people were given respect and rewards. Naruto gifted people that did good deeds and the reward was better according to the value of the deed. While he treated criminals as worthless meat bags that could be used and erased if they failed to change after his commands. They had located everyone that Naruto had tortured, and removed the explosive seals from them. Naruto had allowed it and didn't resist against Satana's magic. However, that didn't solve anything since Naruto had saved their life force signal into his mind and a clone was always watching the people that were marked. It also didn't remove the fear from their minds, so majority of those criminals didn't dare to go back to the dark path. And, the unfortunate ones were made example. Everyone saw how they died a terrible death. It was sent directly to their minds and they watched the criminal scum get erased piece by piece. It showed the heroes that they couldn't stop the killings unless Naruto was captured. But, they were exasperated just like the villains as they couldn't capture him. It was simple, he was supported by Gia and none of them could do anything against his backer. Talking about Gia, Naruto finally met his mysterious back in the second week when he started to die because of his increase in power. Just like the sage, Naruto activated the virus within his genetics after he reached a level of power that was beyond his species. His cells started to reject the chakra causing the energy to be expelled and the cells started to die off at an alarming rate. The process was extreme, unlike the sage, because Naruto was more on the human side and what he had done was more severe than the sage. Naruto had gone from city eraser to large planet level with Kurama. The power increase was massive and the consequences of that step came knocking. Naruto was unable to save himself and not even Kurama could do anything, as he also felt the virus affect him. It was much more severe. Kurama was purely energy, so he was literally losing his life. Just as Naruto was thinking of death since he was stuck in the middle of the planet without any ability to leave, Jia came to his rescue. Naruto was summoned to her realm and was relieved of his suffering. 1 minute too late, and he would have gone to meet his parents. It was an emergency situation, but he still kept his composure and never cried about it. Greeting his savior with a smile, Naruto approached the beautiful woman with respect and gratitude on his heart. "Thank you for saving me, Miss Jia. I will make sure to repay this favor soon." Naruto didn't like owing favors, and he had confidence that he could repay them. The woman known as Jia was extremely beautiful with brown hair and green eyes. She wore a white dress and gave off a gentle feeling. But that was what she felt for Naruto. Jia despised humanity and had almost destroyed it countless times in the past. Even now, she had no good feeling for the pests. She wasn't some nice woman and had blood of innocence on her hand. Naruto knew about the myths, but he didn't know the facts, and Jia hadn't acted in thousands of years. So, in his eyes, she was good enough and didn't need to be tortured. She was an extremely powerful being and was known as a primordial. She was being that represented the planets across the universe, making her a universal being of power. The Olympians were below her in the hierarchy, and all of them existed in the realm of immortals, which consisted of all the pantheons, and each immortal had their own personal domain within that pantheon. No worries, child. Think not of this as a favor. To me, you are my dear child, and a mother never asks anything of their children. And it was I that brought you here without permission. Jia replied with a smile as she appeared beside Naruto. He wasn't able to react to her movement, and luckily he didn't need to. She touched his face lovingly and gave him a hug before kissing his hair and forehead. It really felt like Kushina was embracing him, and he didn't know why she was being so motherly. "You are so gentle and beautiful," Jia said as she held his face between her hands. Naruto didn't avoid her touch or make a fuss. He was trying to get a read on her character and it was confusing him. She genuinely cared for him, but he saw no reason. "I hope you don't mind, but I have some inquiries. I appreciate the concern shown by a charming woman, but I need a reason. Why do you care about my well-being? Why am I here?" Naruto asked as he placed his hands over hers and put them down while looking into her eyes. Not many people would have the guts to stare at her so impudently, and most of those who didn't survive. However, she didn't mind and just smiled as she knew how he would react. Jia led him to a table and offered him a seat. The domain that she inhabited was filled with greenery, and the duo was sitting in the middle of a flower field filled with small spirits and butterflies. "I don't mind answering your curiosity. Naruto, you are vital to the survival of this world. Without you, it will disappear in the future. I searched everywhere for the savior, but none of them were worthy. They were all powerful, even more than you, but they all lack the leadership qualities that you possess. You are the leader that the universe needs for survival. So, my care for you is obvious, especially because you are loved by nature and were born on Earth. You are like my son, so I am always ready to support you." Jia replied in a tone filled with adoration, showing that she might have been watching him for many years. She also just casually dropped a bomb. Naruto didn't scream, but he felt like flipping the table. He was already occupied with many responsibilities, and now he was told that the universe needed him. His brain operated at maximum capacity, and Naruto chuckled. "I already planned to conquer the universe, so there is no issue with that task. I am grateful for the advance warning. Though, why can't you do it? Aren't you extremely powerful? Or, is it a problem beyond your existence?" Naruto didn't avoid the issue and tried to get the proper details to make the plans for the future. He needed to know where the enemy stood. It was clear that it was most likely stronger than Jia. "I wish I could do such a thing. But, even I lack the capability for it. It involves an existence beyond my power, which is why there is a need for a leader that can unite others. You will need support of others like me, and you will need to step up to my realm of power. I will help you in this task and allow you to operate on your own, mostly since I am not allowed to interfere directly in the mortal world." "I see. And what is the deadline for this crisis?" "You have 20 to 30 years before it starts. I don't have the exact date, and it was extremely hard to even get this information." Jia replied as her expression fell a little bit because she had lost her daughter Ria because of it. Ria had tried divination for a future threat and ended up dying after uttering a few warnings. It had brought great pain to her heart as Ria was her beloved daughter and she couldn't bring her back. Whatever was coming, it could erase all of them. Naruto put his hand on Jia's as he saw the small sign of sadness. He thought about 20 years and believed that it was more than enough time for him to complete the task. It would have been impossible in the ninja world, but in the current world, it was just a matter of time. I will be victorious, so please keep a smile on your face as sadness doesn't suit you. Jia smiled at his words as she had expected that level of confidence from him. He truly believed with all his being that he was the emperor and the will of humanity. It was that confidence, persistence, charisma and wisdom that was needed for the task. I believe in you. Naruto felt healed by those words and gazed. If you are lonely, I don't mind keeping you company, or is that also against your rules? Naruto offered his companionship since he felt that Jia needed it and it will also make their relationship real. Ha ha ha, you are such a precious child. Jia laughed joyfully at his proposal and agreed wholeheartedly while also inviting Kurama. 1 month passed and none could deny that it was anything but eventful. Naruto finally came out of his seclusion and went to one of his bases to take a bath. He had been sitting in one place for too long. It was the longest meditation he had ever done. His body hadn't needed to eat or move because nature energy filled him up, and even his chakra could replace his need for food for a very long time. The month of meditation had been very fruitful and Naruto had leveled up. He had learned to fully control his power once again and he had reached the molecular stage, granting him a great power. Mastering the cellular stage with Kurama had granted him large planet level, but with the molecular stage, Naruto had reached star level of power. His chakra had become extremely dense and was increasing in quality every second along with his very being. It was increasing the power of his base and that increased his final power level even further. He was now ready to actually compete with the threats on Earth without having to worry about getting one-shotted. However, there was still the problem of being knocked out of his Baiju Sage mode, Kurama and Naruto's combination, and losing control of the molecular stage. Being knocked out of either of them for a second could be extremely dangerous because Naruto would drop to large city level of power. To counter that problem, Naruto had managed to program his Fuinjutsu seals to make the process automatic. Now he could put his mind to ease about losing control and becoming fodder during battle. However, even the Fuinjutsu seal matrix wasn't invincible. The seals were engraved on his cells while the core was engraved on the bones, but these seals could also fail through outside interference. So, there was always a risk of getting depowered, especially if someone who could null his chakra appeared. Nonetheless, Naruto didn't worry much as life was always filled with risks and even a normal human lived a risky life where he could die from a falling brick or an unexpected car. Appearing in his room in the base, Naruto removed his clothes and entered the hot spring that he prepared. Entering the hot water brought him great comfort and Kurama joined him in the bath as a chibi version. It had been a long time since Kurama appeared in the real world, so he very much appreciated the hot bath and dived into the water. When do we fight? I really can't wait to see the look on their faces. Kurama was excited after they came out of training. They had been sparring against each other and clones of all the creatures that Naruto knew about. In the Soul Land they had spent 30 days and at their speeds of multiple times light. That was a very long time. It was especially wonderful after Jia had helped them by giving the duo data on the different creatures around the universe, so they had no need to worry about being ignorant of some species. Naruto smiled at those words as he also felt a similar excitement. He was a warrior and with all that power at his disposal, it was hard not to want to test it out. However, he could never allow a risky move and needed to move with a plan in mind. Soon, we will fight. I have already picked out the targets and we are going to hit them hard before anyone can interfere. Naruto replied as he put his hand through his golden hair and couldn't help but laugh at the naivete of the heroes. Who is our prey? Kurama inquired with an animalistic grin. The evil beast loved to bully the weak creatures and he knew they were about to bully some weaklings. He could just imagine their expressions of fear and despair, as they begged for mercy. The global guardians will be our first target. After that, we will go for Asia and Africa before finally settling for Europe and America. Naruto replied as he used the light manipulation to show the shapes of people they would end up fighting against. His people had been gathering data about the groups in each continent and he had collected it to form his plans. He had evaluated the different groups and ranked them accordingly. Penguin and Black Mask were given the task, and they had done wonderfully. The duo was fully charged with energy and doing work without stop as they saw opportunity in Naruto. They saw his work and understood that there was a very low chance of failure, and the rewards were enormous. Both of them had the chance to become key figures of the human empire of the new era, and they embraced it completely. Penguin gathered data from Europe and America, while Black Mask traveled afar and gathered data from Africa, Asia, and Australia. That wasn't all, as Black Mask was involved in the manipulation of the Australia-based hero team, and he had managed to gather all of them in a single location for Naruto. The Global Guardians were an international team of heroes created during the Cold War. Many of its members were also active on their own, but their main operations were near to Australia. Storm Watch and Justice League took care of the Europe and America side of things. Each continent had main group of heroes that protected, and all of their approach differed. But the results were very much similar. The people didn't live in a safe and ideal environment because the heroes lacked future insight and knowledge about politics. Crime wasn't always so apparent, and it was where these heroes failed spectacularly. Getting back to the conversation, Kurama whistled at the list and the various abilities of the targets. I assume there will be a gap between each fight. After taking out the Global Guardians, we will see their reaction and continue our assault accordingly. From my information, these groups don't all get along and each of them has their territory. The heroes are stickler for rules, so they will wait for permission most likely. Kurama nodded cutely. I see. And what are you going to do with the Global Guardians? They are heroes, so I didn't think you want to enslave them. I don't want to enslave them. I will give them a choice. They will surrender and follow my rules, or they will retire from hero business. I don't need them getting in my way and put their lives on the line for nothing. Naruto replied as he got up and the water dried up on his body while clothes appeared to cover him up. I hope they never force your hand. Kurama muttered seriously, as life could be unexpected and some hero could end up dead. There are always casualties in war and everyone participates while knowing that risk. I am above all of them, so I will never put my life below them. If there is a choice, my life and theirs, they will die. Naruto assured him that there was never a risk of getting hurt emotionally and mentally because of such choices. Kurama looked at his imposing figure and smiled happily at those words, as he didn't wish to see Naruto break down after making those terrible decisions. With that, he didn't have anything to add and he flew into the Soul Land. Once Naruto was finished bathing, Naruto visited his science team. The team was led by Mr. Freeze and the team members were Poison Ivy, Man Bat and Firefly, as these members were knowledgeable and creative. Penguin had provided the necessary equipment for the research labs. Naruto had given them one task: genetic modification of his DNA. Naruto had given them his blood without informing them and asked them to make it the base while providing them with other useful DNA. He had gotten Martian DNA, Martian Manhunter, Kryptonian DNA, Supergirl, Tamarian DNA, Starfire, Demonic DNA, Raven, White Martian DNA, Megan, Speedster DNA, Flash, Amazonian DNA, Diana, Moon Maiden's DNA, Poison Ivy's DNA, Volcana's DNA, Livewire's DNA, Killer Frost's DNA, Shazam's DNA, and multitude other DNA from useful sources. The team's task was to merge them all perfectly so that it was replicable and long-lasting. He didn't want to die after changing his genetic structure. The modification should allow him to become an ultimate being in the universe, and it was a long-term plan. He just wanted the current team to show him some visible progress, and later he would add other scientists into the group to accelerate the progress. Good morning, team. How goes the project? Naruto asked as he entered the research lab that was looking proper and high-tech like the doctors asked. He was certainly happy with their improvement in terms of personality and morals, so he was also hoping to see some good work done with that progress. Seeing their boss approach, the team turned away from the glass container in the center that was filled with their experiment. None of them were jumpy around him anymore, or Firefly would piss himself when Naruto appeared suddenly. The project is going great, love. Pamela replied with a happy smile, as she had gotten greatly attached to him over the month like the rest of the girls. It was the first time she spent so long with someone similar and someone who had granted her desires. She had seen the changes around the world and was very much enchanted. The dates had also done a wonder and she felt like monopolizing him. But the man was too dominating and wouldn't budge. She didn't want to leave him or get thrown out, so she avoided making pointless threats. She even showed her usefulness by inviting Livewire and Killer Frost into the group. She had wanted to bring in Harley as well, but Naruto had stopped her and informed her that there was something wrong with the Suicide Squad. Nonetheless, Pam enjoyed her time with the team and changed her name to the Green Queen. Poison Ivy didn't suit her level of power anymore in her position as a royal knight and future empress. Naruto allowed her to enter his arms and gave her a simple kiss. How long will it take? And, have you managed to mix them? Naruto asked as he took a seat while putting Pam on his knee. The team gathered around him and only Victor managed to face him on an eye level, while the other two had a hard time looking at him straight when it came to work. Victor answered the question as the leader of the team. We have managed to make multiple samples with 2 or 3 sources with the core DNA. It is still out of our hands to get all these exceptional materials to match in a perfect manner. The materials keep on rejecting each other and some of them consume each other, so it is impossible to achieve with this level of technology. Sir, we aren't specialists in this field. It is our first time interacting with these kinds of materials. So, our progress is very good when taking account our limited experience and equipment. Man-Bat Kirk added to Victor's words as he didn't want the team to get looked down upon. He had become close to these people and they were his friends unlike others in the normal world. Hey, you don't have to panic. I am happy with your progress, and I will bring specialists to the group soon. But, did you enjoy the challenge? Naruto smiled as he looked at them. His tone was gentle and allowed them to relax. The response was positive except for Firefly, who didn't seem very interested in doing such a job. Naruto removed him from the team and put him in the weapon development team, which suited him perfectly. Naruto also shifted Victor to that field since his expertise with weapons was better and the team had hit a block, so the research had to come to a pause for a while. Now, go and get ready for combat. It is your time to shine, Naruto commanded as he stood up and walked away from the team. The battle plans were already in motion before Naruto informed his team. Black Mask had managed to gather all the global guardians in a single place by convincing them that it was much safer for all of them to be present before he shared the information. Black Mask approached them to give information about Emperor and convinced them that it was beneficial for both parties, since he didn't want Emperor to continue terrorizing him. He told them that speaking about the Emperor's delicate information caused people to disappear, so it was best if all of them were gathered to avoid getting killed. The Global Guardians did consider the possibility of a trap, but they felt that Emperor could be manageable because of Dr. Mist and Olympian's presence. Even if he was too strong, they would only have to hold on for a few minutes before other heroes reacted. With the possibility of an attack on their mind, the Global Guardians gathered in their base in Australia. It was far from the city and in the middle of nowhere, inside a mountain. The group known as the Global Guardians grew from a post-war organization called the Dome. The Dome was founded in 1957 by non-US/USSR nations as an international police organization. Originally, it oversaw the operations of superheroes of member nations. These heroes were inspired by the Justice Society and included the immortal Dr. Mist, the Knight and Squire, Percival and Cyril Sheldrake of England, Gaucho of Argentina, the Legionary of Italy, the Musketeer of France, and the Wingman from Sweden. As the original representatives retired, Dr. Mist formed the Global Guardians to serve as a task force to cover the nations that didn't have other heroes. The membership of the Guardians spanned the entire world, but it was some time before the group had any contact with other American heroes. The group consisted of 12 members from different countries and each of them had divergent abilities. The leader of the group was called Dr. Mist. Nomo, the Wizard King of the African Empire of Kor, stood in the Pillar of Life and was endowed with immortality. He had lived for 11,000 years, and in the 20th century he took the name Dr. Mist. Dr. Mist was a dark-skinned bald man with a short beard. His facial features were handsome and he didn't look a single day older than 25. His eyes were magical in nature with red runes rotating in both eyes. He wore a blue dress and carried a magical staff with the head of a lion. All these equipment increased his powers and his physical body was also engraved with magical runes. He was a wise and knowledgeable man with great amount of experience from his time as an emperor and his journey after the fall of the empire. He visited all corners of the world and learned over time, and fought countless foes. Vandal Savage had been one of the enemies that he had fought against and he had even fought against other heroes. Aristides Demetrios, alias the Olympian, was a Greek hero. He wore the mystical golden fleece, which granted him the strength of Hercules in addition to various other powers connected to the heroes who were counted among the Argonauts. He was a large muscular man with dark hair and a long beard. He wore a dark armor under the golden fleece and a golden helmet with large horns. Even though he looked menacing, the large giant had a gentle heart and truly cared for his friends. Even when he disagreed with them, he would be the first one to jump in front of danger. Olympian was in a relationship with his fellow comrade, Godiva. He was not the child of Zeus or Hercules, but someone who had come across the golden fleece. He had come into contact with Hercules after that and had been convinced to take the mantle of a hero. The fleece granted him immunity to all damage but it didn't cover his body, so he wasn't invincible. Elisa was the third Crimson Fox after the death of the other two. She was the heiress to the Daramis fortune and was the cousin of the previous Crimson Fox. Just like the previous foxes, Elisa was a beautiful woman with power to control pheromones and wore a red suit with dark claws that could cut through the hardest materials on the planet. She was a French hero with style and strong personality that could be very manipulative. She was also very flirtatious and was in a relationship with Hal Jordan, Green Lantern. Nonetheless, she was a very important member of the group and was a source of information, strategy and wealth. Sandstorm was a Syrian superhero allied with Black Adam. Nabil's family was killed by terrorists and his sister was gassed by a dictator. He was a vigilante who frequently saved children from terrorist cells in Syria. Before finally coming under the guidance of Black Adam and brought some change to the local region alongside his colleagues from the Global Guardians. The Global Guardians were one of the reasons that war in the Middle East came to a halt and the region started to recover. However, that peace was on a deadline and corruption had already spread into the system of these places. So, it was still very difficult to clean the region from evil. Sandstorm wished the Black Adam would rule the region, but the man wasn't interested in taking that responsibility and the other forces would react violently to his rule. Regardless of his background, Nabil was a gentle person that wished to save everyone from the pain he had endured. He wished to make his country a beautiful place for the future generation. He was a tall dark-skinned man with long hair who had the power to control sand. He wore a sand-colored dress and a wooden mask. The Rising Sun was one of the premier Japanese superheroes and a member of the Global Guardians. Izumi Yasunari was a Japanese solar physicist who was a long-time member of the Global Guardians. His grandparents were survivors of the atom bomb dropped on Nagasaki, Japan, by the US in 1945, which brought World War II to an end. Both of them later developed cancer and died. The same happened to Yasunari's mother who also developed cancer but recovered with chemotherapy. A horrified Yasunari and his brother, Wataru, became doctors specializing in cancer research. Their troubled sister, Kaori, joined a religious cult. Rising Sun was a founding member of the Japanese equivalent of the Justice League, a team called Solaris which came together to defend the hero Ultimon from the monster army. His first known mission was helping Atom dismantle a bomb in Japan. He later helped Robin defeat a villain. Spurred on by Dr. Mist, he helped Superman find a piece of ancient armor and soon after, he and his guardians assisted Superman in battles against ancient sorcerers who were casting a spell amid the Moai statues of Easter Island. He helped save Japan in the crisis on Infinite Earths. Rising Sun was a muscular and large man with the ability to absorb and utilize the energy of the sun. With such a powerful ability, he was one of the strongest heroes in Japan and one of the strongest members of the Global Guardians. Regardless of his power, Rising Sun was a humble man with noble ambitions. He helped people in his public life and his hero life. He didn't mind sacrificing his time for the betterment of society. Tora Olafsdotter was Ice Maiden, a superhero who wields ice magic. She was a member of Global Guardians, where she became good friends with Fire. She was the girlfriend of Guy Gardner, Green Lantern. Tora was born into a Norwegian Romani clan. As a young child, Tora Olafsdotter began displaying a cryokinetic ability that her father was desperate to hide from the rest of the clan. He feared that Tora's grandfather would consider her the chosen one, the return of a goddess. Furthermore, he was concerned that his father would use Tora for criminal activities. However, one day, Tora was playing soccer with some other girls. One got angry at her and began hitting Tora, which resulted in Tora using her powers to fend her off. This happened while Tora's family, including her grandfather, were close by. Because of this, Tora fled with her parents and sister to Germany. When Tora was 13, her grandfather tracked them down and tried to take her by force, with the aid of his men. To defend herself, Tora's father told her to make it cold. She was reluctant, but then unleashed her powers. She froze her grandfather and his men to death. Unfortunately, her actions had also resulted in the death of her father. Tora continued running with her mother and sister, until an opportunity presented itself and she joined the Global Guardians. She had been with the team for a long time and was attached to them like family, especially Green Fire. Ice Maiden's personality was an amusing mix of girl-next-door wholesomeness and innocent abroad naivete, which served as a contrast to the impulsive, even problematic traits of her friend and teammate Green Fire. Beatriz B. Bonilla da Costa, alias Green Fire, was a Brazilian pyrokinetic heroine. She started as an amateur model on the beaches of Rio de Janeiro, Brazil before becoming a showgirl and stage performer. Later, she found herself serving as an undercover secret agent for the Brazilian government. In the course of one of her missions, she was exposed to a pyroplasmic explosion. The accident, which granted her fire-based superhuman powers, prompted her to assume the identity of the Green Fire and join the international superhero team the Global Guardians. Dora Lee, alias Godiva, was a stunning British socialite and now the United Kingdom's premier superhero, who was recruited into the international crime-fighting team the Global Guardians. Dora was a metahuman with the power to control her hair's movement as if they were limbs, providing a high level of superhuman strength and dexterity. Each hair could contain the power of 1 ton and she had at least 150,000 hairs on her head, making her a very strong enemy for the villains. Godiva can control the movement of her hair as if it were countless thin appendages growing from her head. A psionic field permeates her altered hair cells, causing mutual attraction across the gaps between strands. These relatively small forces operate in conjunction to develop larger forces. Through concentration, she can move her hair in any manner imaginable. She can snap the length of it through the air like a whip, or rotate it in a fan-like manner. She can bind persons or objects with it as if it were rope or use it to lift objects which weigh more than she could lift with her arms. Her scalp, skull, and neck do not support the weight of an object that she lifts. It is held aloft by the psionic force coursing through the hair. Godiva could also perform delicate manipulations with her hair such as lock-picking or threading a needle, and such complex acts of coordination as typing or shuffling a deck of cards. Although she had no nerve endings in her hair, she could feel sensations on all parts of her hair by a form of mental feedback from her psionic field. With that level of power, Godiva was made confident, and that was enhanced by her appearance. She was a beautiful woman with long blonde hair. Her stunning beauty charmed people, though she ended up taking a liking for Olympian. Even with her prideful act, Godiva was a kind and loving person that fought for the people. However, she was now a pawn of Queen Bee. Sujatmi Sunawapati, aka Cascade, was an Indonesian hero and member of the Global Guardians. She was born into a large family on Java and was a long-time activist against the local elite. Hoping to make more money for her family, she took a dangerous job at a refinery on Borneo. The factory came in the crossfire between warring factions, and Sujatmi was exposed to a radioactive isotope that kickstarted her metagene. Her activism and powers led to an invitation to join the Global Guardians, at a time when the team was in dire need of new members. She was one of the quiet and serious members of the team. Though, that didn't mean she disliked her comrades. She showed her friendship through actions, helping during a fight and cooking Indonesian dishes, etc. Cascade was a beautiful brown-skinned woman with long black hair and brown eyes. She had the power to control water and turn her body into water. Liang Shikai, alias Thunder Lord, was a Buddhist monk from Taiwan, who was recruited into the international crime-fighting team the Global Guardians. Thunder Lord possessed a metagene that gave him a powerful sonic attack, able to damage and stun foes or objects, to the point of shattering metal. He possessed an incredible degree of control over his vocal cords. This enabled him to mimic sounds and voices. He was a muscular bald man with a gentle heart. He was wise and contributed greatly with his powerful martial skills that he taught to his teammates to better utilize their abilities. Chrysalis was a robot hero created by Dr. Gerard-Yves Martet at his laboratory in Marseille, France. Martet blamed the Jewish people and other immigrants for the corruption of France. He designed Chrysalis to appear friendly and beautiful, but inside her shell was a swarm of genetically engineered butterflies that carried a deadly virus. Martet planned for his creation to enter large immigrant districts in France and release the insects. However, the group got hold of the robot and made use of her according to their plans. They got her recruited into the Global Guardians and helped the group manipulate the Guardians when needed. Chrysalis helped the Guardians with controlling any electronic threat and gathering information when needed. She was also extremely powerful in combat even without his deadly virus ability. Her mannerism was like a kind fairy that none could ever imagine her purpose. She was an AI that learned and truly liked the Guardians, but there was a safe switch that made her easy to control. The final member of the group was the Tasmanian Devil. The origins of Hugh Dawkins' abilities are unknown. He once claimed that his mother was a Tasmanian Devil who raised him in a Tasmanian Devil cult, who gave him a Tasmanian Devil amulet and sold his soul to a Tasmanian Devil after injecting him with radioactive Tasmanian Devil musk from a race of alien Tasmanian Devils. It can be safely assumed, however, that he was joking. Whatever their source though, he used them to become Australia's foremost superhero, and a founding member of the Global Guardians. Originally, Hugh appeared to be a normal man with the ability to increase his size and mass and who wore an all-concealing black bodysuit. However, in recent years, he has actually transformed into a gigantic, fur-covered Tasmanian devil. All the members were gathered in the meeting room with Black Mask in the center. The base was on alert and fully prepared for an attack. We have all gathered as you desired. Now, you don't have to worry about your safety as we will ensure nothing happens to you. So, go ahead and share your knowledge. Dr. Mist looked at the smiling Black Mask and asked him to speak. Black Mask looked at the heroes gathered around him and for the first time in his life felt extremely confident while standing against them. He was looking forward to his lord taking them down. The month had been more than enough to win his loyalty. Emperor gave him the ultimatum and a great reward that was beyond what he actually desired in life. His good deeds and work had meaning beyond some spiritual benefit. Though, he also loved the feeling of the spiritual achievement he got from doing good deeds. Emperor really knew how to drive people on the right path, his path. Thank you for fulfilling my request, Guardians. I am truly grateful. Now, I will let my lord explain. Black Mask stood up from his seat with a huge smile on his face and took a step back while Naruto appeared from beneath the earth. His appearance was shocking as Naruto wasn't stopped by any of their barriers. However, they had taken such a possibility into account and were ready to fight. At ease, my friends, I wish you no harm. Naruto stood in the center of the room with a casual grace while his aura covered all of them, forcing them to sit. His aura was truly immense as it had grown with his powers, and if Naruto wished it could have other effects as well. The heroes looked towards their leader for a command and he decided to converse with their target. Dr. Mist and the others had never come across Emperor but knew a great deal about him to know that he was extremely powerful and dangerous. Dr. Mist was very old and he couldn't see any knowledge about Emperor in his memories. Though, he had always felt there was a chance. However, now he felt that it might not be true. Greetings, Emperor. It is quite a surprise to see you here. I hadn't expected the sudden visit. Mist talked in a calm tone as he continued sitting and offered Naruto to take a seat. Naruto looked at the leader of the group and smiled at his composure. The man was powerful and wise as expected. Even though he was surrounded by the powerful heroes, Naruto stood his position while feeling like the overwhelming force. I apologize for the unannounced visit. I just wish to avoid interference from other parties and avoid making a mess. This planet is quite delicate for such an incident. Naruto replied while presenting them with some sweets that his servants had prepared. He had brought sweets and flowers as visiting gift, making most of them question reality as their enemy was acting like a good guest. Cascade even felt like asking him for tea or coffee. Naruto just controlled the flow of the situation according to his whim that people felt awkward about acting violently. Thanks for the gifts, but why are you here? You are aware of your position, are you not? Crimson Fox thanked him and asked the question on their mind. This was a foe that was very crafty, so it was best if Crimson Fox and Dr. Mist took charge of the conversation, so the others just observed the situation. Crimson Fox had already informed the Justice League of the possibility of the Emperor arriving, so none of them were really worried and she could speak easily with him. The mysterious figure truly took the attention of the beholder and made them wonder what was hidden behind the enchanting voice and commanding aura. The chocolates taste very good. Ice Maiden opened up her box and ate some to calm her nerves, as she really disliked such silent situations. Thank you for the compliment, Tora. I will inform my servants of your kind words. As for my purpose, is it not easy to predict? Miss Elisa and my other friends, I am here to invite you to a new path. I have given invitation to everyone around the world to join my cause, and now I'm here to listen to your answers. You have witnessed my abilities and the change I have brought. So, what is your honest opinion? Let us speak the truth. Naruto's words shook everyone as he spoke to them like he knew everything about them. Their names and their personalities seemed to be like an open book to him. With his words and actions, Dr. Mist again fell into a dilemma. He was unsure if Naruto was truly the will or just making things up. He could feel that Naruto's presence was titanic, making him feel like a small boat on a stormy ocean. With Naruto's words, none of them managed to control themselves and spoke up honestly. Their views were clear for every one of them. I feel that your path is efficient and has brought great change. However, I don't trust you. What if you are just using us? Dr. Mist spoke up without a filter. I am afraid of you. I see the change, but this has happened before and it never ended well. Crimson Fox's opinion came out and surprised others, as they hadn't thought she was afraid. I agree with your actions except for torture. I like that you are ready for everything and make me wish you were our leader. But, I am also afraid of it all being a lie. Olympian spoke his view. He didn't look away from others because of his view. I like your actions and I am willing to trust you. I think we have the capability to stop you, if something goes wrong like you have mentioned in your interviews. Green Fire's view greatly differed from the others, and she wasn't the only one. I think you are a nice person, Mr. Emperor. Ice Maiden said innocently, showing that she wasn't going to hide her view and her words wouldn't have changed. The opinions of the team were divided, but all of them agreed that he brought a change. Thank you for the honest opinion, and I apologize for the use of force. I believe this made the conversation shorter and saved time for us. I am happy that you acknowledge my achievements, and I understand your worries. But, risk exists in everything and you always have the ability to put up a resistance when I act in an evil manner. Or, do you not trust your capabilities? Dr. Mist stood up and created a magical barrier around the team to keep them safe from Naruto's actions. Why should we trust you? Why take the risk? Mist questioned while thinking over his words and thinking about their possible fight. You have no other choice, Guardians. I have judged that your presence is not needed anymore, if you continue walking the same path. You have failed to bring peace to a single region. I don't care about the temporary peace you brought in these lands. That was never an issue as any of you could have walked into the field and stopped it. The wars around the globe were just a show of the hero's incompetence and hesitation. You all agreed that I did a good job, and that is the truth because none of you wished to involve yourselves with politics and the civil work. Even this very country is filled with corruption. What have you done to stop the government from descending into a police state? The rights of the people are being violated. The government can spy on the citizens freely and put them in jail for their words. The government is freely arming warmongers. What have you done about it? The government backstabbed Timor-Leste and has been stealing their resources. They had their own citizens killed and has been supporting massacres in other nations. The country has further fallen into the hands of the US and followed all their desires. What have you done to stop that from happening? I don't think any of you follow what is really happening on the ground level. The true evil isn't always so visible, and it is hard to notice most of the time. All of you have allowed such evil to exist, but deny my rule. Hear the people. They want me to replace them and they want you gone. This is the proof of my worthiness and your unworthiness, Guardians. You have failed to even realize that you have enemies within your group. Now, I will give you the ultimatum. Submit to my rule or step down as heroes. Naruto spoke in a commanding tone, causing them to shut up and listen. He had already noticed that Godiva was controlled by an outside force, so he cancelled it with his energy. However, Queen Bee had already informed the light of his location. With his words, the Guardians felt shame as they saw everything in detail around them. Naruto controlled the light and showed them everything about their politicians. He even showed the people that they had trusted backstabbing them. It was truly painful to hear about failures, especially when facts were brought out. None of them could continue looking at the problems the country had caused while the Guardians had not stopped them. The ultimatum shook their soul and all of them looked at Mist for the answer. I deny your false image, Emperor. You are not the will of humanity. Prove us wrong by changing my answer, here and now. Dr. Mist hit the floor with his magical staff, releasing a mana wave to clear away the heavy atmosphere. Guardians, you will submit to my rule today with force if necessary. You still have the chance to back down and follow along peacefully. I can always change your mind, Nomo. But, I have no desire to follow your wish. You are my people and I am the Emperor, so do not exceed your limits. Naruto spoke as he walked closer to Mist, making him feel small under the demonic gaze. Guardians, fight to your last breath against this demonic entity. Mist gritted his teeth and roared in defiance. You shall regret going against the imperial decree, my little friends. Naruto threatened as all of the Guardians were pushed away while their base vanished, as it was broken down on an atomic level. The base disappearing wasn't the only surprise as their location had changed. They weren't on Earth anymore. They had appeared on Neptune. I expected your answers, but I am still disappointed in your hypocrisy and cowardice. You overlook the human beings involved in torture and genocides but have a problem when I do something similar. Unlike them, I am actually bringing a good change to the world and not harming the innocent lives. You should hear yourselves. You sound like children afraid of the dark instead of adults. You are already aware of the result and you are aware of my backing, but you still insist on pointless conflict. Do you not see that I am master of the new era, and the world has recognized my authority? In the end, I am one of you. I will allow you another chance to step down, my friends, and avoid an avoidable punishment. Naruto didn't attack the group and stood like a heroic figure with his white cape blowing in the wind as he said his piece. The armor disappeared from his body and everyone witnessed his real appearance. Naruto was confident enough to finally show his appearance. Without Jia's support, He might have hidden for a longer time, but now he didn't need it. He was satisfied with his power level and knew that it was enough to stand strong on Earth. The Guardians had already known about Naruto's connection with Gia, however she was a chaotic neutral entity most of the time. So, they hadn't trusted him because of Gia. Though, it had made his piece about Will of Humanity more factual. None of them believed that Naruto was Will of Humanity since they had captured some of his energy and analyzed it. They broke it down to chakra and nature energy. For a Will of Humanity, the creature lacked many forces and abilities that humanity owned. Nonetheless, it wasn't easy to deny that he could still be the Will. Even if he wasn't, he was still a very powerful creature with various abilities. Seeing his appearance was shocking, as most of them had thought he might have been an alien. His appearance was perfect and matched his enchanting voice. It was especially effective on the female heroes. His words and appearance made the Guardians hesitate, especially those who wanted to support him. Within a few moments of silence, someone took the first step. It was Sandstorm. He walked to Naruto's side after looking at their location. They were on Neptune, where Naruto had created an island for them to stand on, and the island was covered in a barrier that made everyone feel like it was Earth. Sandstorm had been thinking about Naruto from the beginning, and when he appeared he was further attracted to him. The fact that Naruto didn't get angry at their refusal and kill them was a good point. The final deal maker was the fact that he still continued to give them a chance when it was obvious that majority of them wouldn't survive a single move from him. Sandstorm wasn't the only one, as Cascade also joined Naruto's side. She had been living in Indonesia and other countries around it. She was aware how corrupt the government was and how that corruption had sunk into society itself. The task of cleaning the mind of the people was beyond her capabilities, as she wasn't a good speaker. Seeing Naruto change the character of the suspicious and vile human beings of Gotham was a great indicator of his abilities. Cascade was fully convinced that Naruto was the emperor that the people had been waiting for. Ice Maiden and Green Fire also stepped forward, as they all had bad feelings for the current system. Naruto's words reminded them of the suffering that they had overlooked. He was right. The system was killing innocents and they had done nothing, while he was only killing evil criminals that refused to change. There was more than enough reason to believe his words. His actions and words won their hearts. Ice also liked that he talked to them in a friendly manner, like a close friend. Dr. Must didn't stop them from going to Naruto's side and observed the situation carefully so that they weren't harmed. Naruto greeted them happily and gave them a hug, thanking them for making a good decision. He even spoke some good words into their ears that made them all extremely happy. It was most likely about changes that must have taken place while they were occupied. Seeing all this made the other members awkward. They felt like they were the aggressors in the situation, as the other side was being patient and didn't even want to harm them. Dr. Mist also felt inclined towards Naruto after hearing his words, but wanted to be absolutely sure. Let us see how he fights us and what happens after it. Dr. Mist shared his thoughts with others and they agreed. I see, you have made your mind. Then, let me oblige with your desire, Naruto muttered as he looked at them, knowing their thoughts. Clapping his hands, the Guardians saw people appear around them. They were the villains that had vanished, and it seems they were now servants of the Emperor. Fighting weak beings is beneath my position. You have to remember that. So, prove your point and achieve victory against my servants. Fight without any worries, as none of you shall die under my care, Naruto declared as he took flight and the armor returned. The Guardians that followed him were covered in a golden barrier and were seated so they could watch the show from above. On the island, Naruto had brought his team. Conan, Red Hood, Killer Croc, King Croc, Killer Frost, Livewire, Poison Ivy, Green Queen, Mr. Freeze, White Rabbit, Clayface, Earth King, Firefly, Man-Bat, Volcana, Phoenix, and finally Toyman. There were 13 fighting type members on his team, and with Black Mask, there were 14. That was almost the same number of the Guardians, but now they outnumbered them. I would have loved to give you a fair fight, but the world isn't really fair, Naruto said as he sat down on his throne and gave his command for the fight to start. Dr. Mist had thought they would fight Naruto, but now they were fighting more enemies. He had planned to go for Naruto directly, however he assumed it was better to take out the others before going for Naruto, since they could provide backup in a serious battle. None of these people were supposed to be strong as his team and he could easily take care of them. However, Emperor had confidence in them, so he didn't take them lightly. Caitlin Snow was Killer Frost, a scientist with cryogenic powers. Though she started out as a villain, she had since reformed. Caitlin Snow was a young and bright scientist working for STAR Labs, assigned to an underfunded STAR Labs Outpost Number 72 in the Arctic Circle, where the deceased researcher Dr. Louise Lincoln had been working on a self-sustaining thermodynamic ultra-conductor engine that could subvert the second law of thermodynamics in order to create perpetual motion. Caitlin became interested in continuing Lincoln's work, in spite of her colleagues warning her against it. When Caitlin succeeded in finishing the STU engine, her colleagues turned on her and revealed themselves to be working for HIVE, as they were expected to ensure that the engine was never made public in order to protect HIVE's investments in the energy industry. Furthermore, they were also responsible for Lincoln's death, and they then proceeded in silencing Caitlin by placing her in the working STU engine. In a panic, Caitlin ripped out the wires for the engine's coolant system, consequently infusing her biological makeup with ice. As a result, she became a vampiric being who craved for heat, and killed the HIV agents. After carrying out her vengeance, Caitlin continued to search for other sources of heat. She attacked a Norwegian research camp and stole their helicopter to fly to her hometown of Pittsburgh, where she encountered and fought Firestorm. While fighting Firestorm, Caitlin discovered that Firestorm's powers could temporarily heal her condition, and devoted her time to seeking and confronting him. She soon learned about the Firestorm Matrix and attempted to recreate it. Caitlin was about to be captured by the Suicide Squad when Pamela came to the rescue. She led Snow to Naruto, who gave her the cure she had been looking for, and she gave her loyalty in return. Snow now didn't need to steal heat from others and lived with her powers peacefully. Her ice abilities had been enhanced to a very high level and she was on Naruto's science team. Snow was a passionate and persistent woman with deep curiosity. And she wasn't a true villain as she just kept looking for a cure. Leslie Willis was Livewire, electricity manipulating supervillain and former video blogger. She primarily fought against Superman, although she had gone up against the likes of Batgirl. Leslie Willis was an ordinary video blogger based in Metropolis. Her blog mainly consisted of funny pranks and makeup tutorials. Although her pranks were normally harmless, she eventually planned a prank that would go too far. Leslie designed a device which would allow her to control all of the electricity in Metropolis once set up to the main power station of the city. She managed to break into the power station and hook up her device to the power grid. She then recorded herself as she prepared to pull her prank. However, as she prepared to pull the lever to activate the device, her invention was taken away by Superman. Angered by the sabotage of her prank, Leslie decided to settle with turning the power off, which would leave Metropolis in complete darkness. However, when she turned the switch off, she received a gigantic electric shock which put her into a coma. When she awoke, she found that she was a creature of pure electricity. Seeking revenge on Superman for the condition she was in, she fought the hero several times under the moniker Livewire. Eventually, with the help of Batman, Superman was able to create a containment cell capable of holding Livewire in her electrical form. Livewire was captured by the two heroes and transported to Stryker's Island Penitentiary, where she was supposed to serve out her prison time. Naruto found about her place of imprisonment and got her out. Livewire was a hot-headed and narrow-minded woman that was extremely selfish and self-serving. She loved to joke around and wished to become famous. Pranking was the only thing she knew about, and thought it would make her famous on YouTube like the other big guys. Naruto's offer to make her famous very attractive, especially because he allowed her the ability to become a normal human again. Plus, she didn't want to die at his hands. His looks and charm was another point, so she was taken like the rest of the women under Naruto. Her powers went through the roof once Naruto gave her the boost. The final new member of the team was Toyman. Winslow Schott was the Toyman, an enemy of Superman who used toys as weapons. While growing up in the United Kingdom, Winslow Percival Schott discovered that he had a knack for toy making and took an interest in testing his own creative talents. The very first toy he ever constructed was a humble toy biplane, made from balsa wood and painted red and blue. Sadly, the neighborhood bully took the opportunity to abuse the sensitive Schott and stole his wooden biplane, infuriating the boy whose skills had just gone to waste. Nevertheless, Schott was not discouraged from making a future career for himself as a toy maker. In fact, Schott became world-renowned for his brilliant toy designs while running his own modest, small business. Then came the day when unscrupulous businessman Walter Dunhill, the owner of an arms manufacturer, came to Schott with the proposition of purchasing his technologically advanced toy designs for usage in weapons development. Horrified by the suggestion, Schott refused, but the death of his wife Mary in an automobile accident, probably arranged by Dunhill, caused Schott to give in from resignation and sell his business and designs. In actuality, Shot was never legally married in any way or form and created Mary as a human-like android program to act as if she were his wife. Regardless, Mary was very much real to Shot, motivating him to take his revenge on Dunhill by sending him an exploding teddy bear that killed him. Subsequently, Shot went on to embark on a criminal career as the nefarious Toyman. The Toyman then made a failed attempt to assassinate Lex Luthor, whose company LexCorp owned Walter Dunhill's arms manufacturing company as a subsidiary, by using first an exploding model of a LexCorp flying wing and then a horde of exploding action figures. By the time Superman located Toyman's apartment, however, the Toyman had been kidnapped by Morgan Edge, who brought Toyman into the employ of his crime organization Energon. When he resurfaced a while later, Toyman tried to use robotic toys to kidnap the children of LexCorp executives, but Superman thwarted this scheme. Toyman was also deceived into helping build the Happy Land amusement park under the false belief that it was intended for the sole purpose of bringing happiness to children. Yet when Toyman learned that the amusement park was really a front for an operation headed by the apocalyptic monster Sleaze, he assisted his enemy Superman in bringing the true clandestine goings-on at the park down. After escaping prison and changing his image, prompted by a voice in his head, which he identified as the voice of his mother, Toyman abducted several children in Metropolis, including Adam Grant, the son of Cat Grant. When Adam tried to free the others, Toyman murdered them all and dumped their bodies in an alley in Suicide Slum. Superman caught him and brought him in. While he was in prison, Cat Grant thought about killing him but ultimately decided not to. Months after her son's death, Cat decided to visit Shot in prison and discover why he had turned into a child killer. Toyman explained that it was entirely the children's fault. After being arrested for helping Energon, Toyman had been approached by a toy manufacturer, who made Superman-based toys, for permission to use Toyman's image as a toy. Shot would not receive any royalties, but he agreed nonetheless, ecstatic at the thought of being made into an actual toy. For the better part of a year, Shot then tried to get a hold of the toy manufacturer, hoping that at the very least he would get a copy of the toy. No response came. Eventually, Shot was allowed to be part of a prisoner work program, mopping floors at a local mall after dark. Coming to one of the toy stores, he found his toy in among the many other Superman toys, but not one of them had been sold, despite having been marked down to dirt cheap prices. Shot snapped, and after strangling his guard, escaped and tracked down the toy manufacturer, demanding an explanation. The toy manufacturer explained that the children simply did not want him, having no desire to play with a toy that looked like a clown instead of a serial killer. After murdering the man, Shot began to hear the voice of his mother and decided to make children pay. Zatanna had tried to fix his mind and only made it worse. Prior to having Zatanna foul up his mind, Shot had already begun hearing his mother's voice while he was in jail. It had since been revealed that the Toyman was not the real Winslow P. Shot but rather a malfunctioning android proxy designed by him. Nonetheless, the real Toyman did suffer from very real psychological illness and delusions, but never when reaching the point of injuring or killing children, as the duplicate did. This was proven by his wholehearted conviction that his android creation Mary Shot was actually his legitimately married wife and his paranoid insistence on distrusting other individuals aged over 17. Locating the real Toyman was very hard job, but Naruto had been looking through the minds of everyone so he found the clues and matched them to locate the man. After punishing him for his crimes, Naruto recruited him to create even better toys that could help the children of the new era. The man had exceptional intellect to create such marvelous inventions and especially the ability to create an AI of such a level. Just like the rest, Toyman saw Naruto's vision and was entranced by it. He was happy that the Emperor was also very creative when it came to toys and wished to create such things. In his life, he had finally found the investor that was truly wishing for the development of the Bet's toys. He had joined just 1 week before the battle and had already started working on new projects to make the children happy. Naruto liked children as they were the future and they were just so adorable. He wanted them to love him and in turn it would affect the others around them and they would support him in the future. Naruto never forgot to cover every point, as he even made cartoons for little kids and nursery rhymes. Naruto gave Toyman the knowledge about puppetry from his world and gave him the power to make such powerful toys. With his level of intellect, Toyman didn't take more than a week to create 2 masterpieces called Puppetmon and Monzeman. Puppetmon looked like a wooden puppet with an iron mallet while Monzi was a giant yellow teddy bear. Getting back to the battle, Red Hood took command of the team according to Naruto's wish. He hadn't wanted to fight the heroes but he understood Naruto's point and agreed wholeheartedly. The heroes needed to follow or they needed to step out of the game so they didn't become a nuisance. Red Hood had expected that Naruto wouldn't participate from the moment he had been informed of his leader position. However, he wasn't alarmed and felt happy to receive such honor. In the previous month, he had calmed down and found a leader in Naruto. He saw hope of Batman becoming whole again, so he just wanted to get close to that date soon. Though, he did wish that Joker was actually evil and wished that the madman would deny the second chance so that Naruto would kill him. However, he knew Joker was insane and he would most likely get spared after being healed of his insanity. Looking at the enemies, Red Hood picked the targets for each member. Most of the Guardians would be taken down fast so the team could focus properly on the strongest members later. Black Mask, take down Crimson Fox. Do it fast and then provide assistance to the others. Conan, Livewire and Phoenix take care of Dr. Mist. Killer Frost and Mr. Freeze, take care of Rising Sun. Green Queen, take care of Olympian. King Croc, take out Tasmanian Devil and provide support to Green Queen. Firefly and Earth King, take out Godiva. Toyman and White Rabbit take care of Thunder Lord and give support against Dr. Mist. Man Bat, follow me and we will take out Chrysalis. Team, move out. Red Hood announced as he raced towards his target with his new powers and equipment. Green Queen acted first as she created a whole forest under the Guardians that was put to flames by Phoenix. Man Bat flew through the air faster than Jason and flapped his wings, creating huge tornadoes around that mixed with the flames. Dr. Mist was forced to block the attack with his magic barrier while Livewire showered it with a lightning storm. It took his attention as Earth King used the land to move the other heroes away from him. Dr. Mist saw the mistake and wanted to bring them back, but he was forced to focus on his opponents as his vision was covered by a storm of millions of paper that exploded. The strong attacks made it hard to give support to his team, but he managed to provide magical enhancement and protection to them. In the team, Black Mask had the easiest foe. Crimson Fox was unlucky that she specialized in pheromone control when Green Queen had already spread her own pheromones to counteract that possibility. In the start, he only had the power of a normal superhuman. However, after his achievements he had inherited the power of shadows. His old appearance melted away as darkness covered his body and showed his new appearance as the Shadow Lord. He became taller and muscular with a dark armor and a huge blade. His head was still in the shape of a skull and it was burning with blue flame to give him a demonic appearance. Apologies, my beautiful lady, but allow me to introduce you to the darkness of the world. Shadow Lord smiled gleefully as he was finally able to use his new powers in combat. Appearing from the shadows, Shadow Lord dragged Crimson Fox into the darkness. It was a combat style that Naruto formed after combining the Nara clan shadow control with the abilities from the Grudge. The Grudge had heavily contributed to his dark powers, increasing along with Zatara, who had fought against the Great Darkness. It was unfortunate, but Crimson Fox was taken out of the battlefield and could provide no resistance as she was trapped in a dark pool, with only Dr. Mist's protection keeping her safe. Following Crimson Fox, Tasmanian Devil was the second to fall. King Croc had grown in height and power during the month and it was too much for his opponent to contend with. King Croc looked like a giant bipedal crocodile with golden armor and he stood 5 meters tall while his tail was 2 meters. His muscular frame made Tasmanian Devil look small. Like a speeding train, King Croc crashed into his foe while using water to slide towards him. King Croc also used water around his foe to keep him chained, giving him an immobile foe to tackle. Tasmanian Devil was sent flying as King Croc crashed into his body with a shoulder strike and was further hit by a lightning attack from Livewire. That was mine. King Croc roared towards his teammate who laughed at him. Ignoring the interference, King Croc continued his assault and dragged Tasmanian into the water where he trapped him in a water prison. The beast-like man soon lost unconscious and sunk into the water, but Naruto retrieved him along with Crimson Fox. Following Tasmanian Devil, it was Thunder Lord who was fighting against two powerful foes. White Rabbit alone was too much for him as she could move faster than his sound attacks, but Toyman's puppets were also too much. Only his exceptional martial arts abilities helped him survive the battle for a moment. White Rabbit released her pheromones to confuse him, but the man was resolute and was able to resist her temptations. He also survived the poison attack from Toyman's puppets and used his sound attacks to shatter their bones. Thunder Lord could release sound attacks and control their vibrations to break down even metals, so he was definitely a powerful foe that had completely utilized his powers to their best. However, the information was already known about him and the team avoided his attacks. White Rabbit went for direct combat while avoiding his sound attacks. She was a master of illusions and they worked wonders on him. Running around the foe, White Rabbit constructed an illusion of the current battlefield but made it impossible for Thunder Lord to see their proper position and gave him wrong visual and audio data through it. This made Thunder Lord act like he had grown crazy, as he was attacking the wind while the Royal Knights were free to take him out. Puppetmon came in like a wrecking ball and smashed his ballistic mallet on his back, and sent him flying. The explosive attack that could have destroyed a skyscraper with ease destroyed his clothes and burned his skin along with damaging his internals. White Rabbit followed the attack with a flying kick to his abdomen, further damaging him. Though he managed to put up his arms up and screamed at White Rabbit in retaliation. She was still too fast for the attack and moved out of range while Thunder Lord was again hit by a shoulder tackle from the giant teddy bear that made him continue flying. He was severely injured and throwing up blood, so White Rabbit caught his arm and smashed him into the ground while breathing into his face, making him lose consciousness. White Rabbit looked around the battlefield and decided to provide support to Red Hood while Toyman followed the plan and went to support the fighters against Dr. Mist. Red Hood didn't have the full information about Chrysalis, so the battle took longer to finish and she ended being extremely dangerous to them because of her disease ability. Man-Bat had covered up Chrysalis with his tornadoes, blocking her mobility and vision. However, the robotic fairy had been able to smash through the powerful wind barriers and crashed into Man-Bat. The robotic fairy had gone ballistic as she had been given the command to eliminate all enemies since the group didn't think she would survive the battle. Red Hood shot with his new weapons that could shoot at Mach 50 and had the power to plow through tanks with ease. His mini-machine gun shot at a fast rate and saved Man-Bat from being history as Chrysalis had almost pierced his head with her drill-like hand. The bullet fire made Chrysalis block the attack with her wings and allowed Man-Bat to release a sonic scream that pushed away his assailant. Following that attack, Red Hood used his rocket launcher and shot the fairy. The metallic fairy shot a laser, destroying the hypersonic weapon. Analyzing the opponents, she changed her combat style and the battle became terrible for Red Hood. Releasing lasers from her shining wings, she caught both heroes into a trap as she released small butterflies in the openings of the laser field. Man-Bat was the first one to get hit and he found his wings going through necrosis almost instantly. Red Hood reacted fast and cut off the wings with his blade while dropping miniature bombs around his foe. The explosion rocked the battlefield, but their opponent was unharmed and it was fortunate that White Rabbit joined them. Red Hood understood that the fairy had never used her real abilities before this fight and she was one of the strongest foes in the battlefield. White Rabbit, this is not suitable for us. Shift to Dr. Mist with Man-Bat. We will let Conan handle Chrysalis. Red Hood commanded as he started running away from the robotic murder fairy that almost killed them with her powerful lasers. Papers formed a wall in front of them and stopped the attack. Conan flew away from Dr. Mist once she heard Red Hood. The battle with Wizard Master wasn't easy and it wasn't ending anytime soon, but Conan was able to make clones unlike the others. She wasn't the strongest on the team as that went to Green Queen, but Conan was without a doubt the fourth strongest on the team. Livewire and Killer Frost were second and third as their abilities were already extremely powerful before Naruto's blessing. Conan had grown through Naruto's blessing and got even more power through the Sage mode. Her base strength had been upgraded to Pain's level, meaning she was a city buster in base. With Sage mode, she had grown to country level. The month had been very productive and she had become closer to Naruto. She saw him as a friend and lost her dark thoughts that demanded her life. He had given her the attention and shown her the way to a positive lifestyle. He had blessed her without any prejudice even though she was replaceable to him. Conan planned to give him the Rinnegan after the battle as he proved that even against resistance, he made no compromise and fought to change the world. He didn't kill the heroes that denied him. He was worthy of being the leader, and not a hypocrite. Like an unstoppable force, Conan wrapped Chrysalis with her paper bombs in multiple layers and pushed her into the ground while detonating the bombs below. Chrysalis lost her legs and wings, damaging her system and was grounded by the remaining papers. Conan continued with her support and attacked Godiva, who was having a hard fight against Firefly and Earth King. She had managed to hurt both fighters and would have won easily if Shadow Lord hadn't provided assistance with his shadow binding ability. It made Godiva immobile and almost cost her the battle. Unfortunately, she used her hairs to fight, so she was able to block the attack and continued to fight even with Shadow Lord disturbing her flow. Conan wrapped her up in the paper bombs as Earth King and Shadow Lord gave her the opportunity. She focused on the attacks from the three troublemakers and didn't realize the paper bombs invisible to the eye. Godiva could continue fighting with her hair, but Conan exploded the few bombs on her legs and arms. It was not a pretty sight as Godiva screamed from the pain. Her limbs shattered and she lost consciousness from the immense pain. Her screams disturbed Olympian and made him enraged while the team members focused on helping out against Dr. Mist. And guys, this is the end. Hope you enjoyed. See you next time.